Welcome to part 3 of this Pokewalker challenge. I recommend watching the first 2 parts before this one, but if you haven't, you need to know that I can only use Pokemon and items from the Pokewalker and only get experience from it too. Using those main rules, I'm trying to beat the game in the lowest amount of steps. Day 4 was supposed to start when the Pokewalker reset before even the 7th gym, so it's a bit late, but here it is. The next fight in this playthrough is against the rival. This fight is annoying because of Confuse Ray and Thunder Wave. Even in the attempt where I broke through all of it, I still lost to his team of 5 powerful Pokemon, at least relative to mine, so I need to level up with the Pokewalker. So my Wobbuffet found something, which means 10 watts. So I'm going to be doing the dowsing machine every chance I get, because I want to get as many Sitrus berries as I can. Below 700 is the best. Hey, berry. Nice. That's really this time. These times. Hey, hey. Hyper potion. If I'm doing this wrong, though, I'm just gonna... I will use this format to show items I found in the Pokewalker. These will always be enough experience to level up. Even with the level ups, this battle still requires pretty good RNG. If I get hit by confusion or flinch at the start, I have to reset. But in this instance, Golbat gets a critical hit and I can take him out all at once. I can use my doduo against Haunter. If I successfully land 3 pecks, I can feint him as long as he curses. The problem is that he likes using Confuse Ray too, so I have to reset if I hit myself here as well. I use my Ghastly's Curse on Magnemite and Stalford's damage by using a Magnemite of my own. In an attempt where my Wobbuffet doesn't take too much damage, I can counter the Sneasel and heal with my Sitrus Berry in order to survive a hit against Feraligatr and counter him too. After more fights against Team Rocket, I can move on to the next area, an area I'm going to want to level up before progressing further, for reasons you'll soon see. Using one of the heart scales that I picked up from the Pokewalker, I can use the move reminder to teach my doduo a move that he's missed thanks to Pokewalker level up skipping new moves. The most important move I learned because of this is acupressure. This move raises a random stat of mine by 2 stages, which will definitely come in handy. I also teach him Pursuit for now, even though I might get rid of it later. As long as I move before the enemy Pokemon, I'll have a chance to raise my evasion with acupressure before my opponent attacks me. So I finish EV training Doduo in speed by killing Raticates and Rattatas, giving him a speed stat of 73 at level 28. But I'm still not fast enough to outspeed Gyarados, and I'm going to have to level up later anyway, so I'll get back to commentating when I am faster. Now that Doduo is level 32, I can finally outspeed the Gyarados with my speed stat of 83. I also replace Pursuit with Double Hit since it's the most powerful stab move Doduo can learn, and if I ever need to hit a ghost type, I still have Peck as my most powerful stab flying move. It's time to show off a little strategy I like to call spam acupressure until it works, which might take a while. As stated before, acupressure will raise any one random stat by 2 stages. From here on, fights where I use doduo will have my victory directly linked to my speed. So long as I outspeed the opponent's first Pokemon, I can use acupressure. But still, what's so special about raising the wrong defense or accuracy by 2 stages? Well, nothing. What I'm aiming for is to go first, raise my evasion, and have my opponent miss on the first turn. From there, I'll keep raising my stats so I can sweep my opponent with Dodunce. An alternative solution with acupressure is to raise the relevant defense stat, in this case special defense, to survive an extra hit, and on the next turn raise my evasion and have my opponent miss, or same defense stat, to live yet another hit. But what are the odds of everything going right? Acupressure can raise 1 in 7 stats: attack, defense, special defense, speed, accuracy, or evasion. Speed is useless to get first turn, since my entire strategy revolves around being faster than my opponent's lead, but can help later in the battle if they have a faster Pokemon on their team. Special attack is entirely useless with only physical attacks on my doduo. Accuracy is only good if I'm already set up on evasion and defense, since double hit has 90% accuracy. Attack is pretty much mandatory to raise in some fights, so I can conserve PP and greatly lower the odds of my opponent hitting me through maxed out evasion and getting a critical hit, bypassing my defense boosts. I can control whether or not I go first by leveling up my Pokemon, so that's not an issue. But the odds of raising my evasion are 1 in 7, and assuming the opponent is using a move with 100% accuracy, they will have a 6 in 10 chance to hit. Now, I'm no mathematician, but that's an 8.57% chance. So this will take many attempts, but if I can get this result on the following turn, I can give Doduo an X defense or X special defense to guarantee survive another hit and heal him if he takes damage until the opponent misses again, giving me more turns to raise my stats. Keep in mind that X items only raise the specified stat by 1 stage in this generation, so in some fights I would have to rely on acupressure to raise my defensive stats in order to survive a hit. In some fights, as long as acupressure hits the right defensive stat, I can survive at least 1 hit at around half. From there, I can use an X item to raise that same stat to survive another hit, then heal and get an evasion raise eventually so I don't waste too many healing items. In fact, I don't use this strategy in most fights just to save on healing items. But like I said, I survive 1 hit as long as acupressure hits the right defense, giving me 1 more chance to continue the fight. So it's a 2 in 7 instead of a 1 in 7 chance of the first turn going right. On the next turn, I can either raise that same stat or get an evasion raise with a miss from the opponent to continue the battle. So I have a 2 in 7 chance of the first turn going well with 2 possibilities for the next turn. A 1 in 7 chance to raise the same stat, allowing me to survive another hit and heal from there, which is usually worth continuing a fight at that point, as long as I get an evasion raise quickly enough, since I take little damage, meaning I don't use too many healing items. But like I said before, I don't want to waste them. So most of these attempts get reset anyway. And I have another 1 in 7 chance to raise my evasion with the same 6 in 10 chance to dodge. I can heal, which is more worth using with evasion and defense up, and use X items accordingly. But that 8.57 chance is still rare, obviously. The important thing is that I have a 2 in 7, 28.57% chance of my first turn going well, and an 8 in 35, 22.9% chance of my second turn going well, otherwise known as a 6.53% chance of surviving the first 2 turns of fights like this. With odds like these, you really don't want your opponent to break through your +6 evasion boost and then crit you later in the fight. With all that being said, it took me more time than I even want to think about for this fight to be finished, but eventually I got it done. The next battle is one that I consider to be the real final boss of this playthrough, or should I say final bosses. The Camino girls each have a different evolution, each high leveled, but instead of being 1 fight against 5 evolutions, it's 5 separate fights against 1 evolution. In a normal playthrough, this wouldn't be a big deal, but there is no chance to save or heal between each fight. Yeah, if I tried to use the acupressure strategy, I'd still be trying to beat this, or pretty much be forced to overlevel my Pokemon, which would greatly increase my steps since higher levels require much more steps. Fortunately, Doduo survives 1 Dark Pulse even without a special defense raise. Unfortunately, Umbreon also uses Confuse Ray just to lower my odds of success even more. I will still be using the acupressure strategy for the first fight since I can easily load my last save. It's every fight after that which would take forever if my incredibly low success rate of raising the right stat was used her 5 fights in a row without saving in between. Like I said before, if I did do that, I would probably still be attempting this. Doduo is the only Pokemon I have that can beat Umbreon thanks to Wobbuffet's Mirror Coat being Psychic type, so it doesn't affect the Dark type Umbreon. After many more attempts and many more minutes of setup, I get through Umbreon. It's not a perfect strategy, but it works. Though keep in mind that every time I attempt this and show footage of an evolution later in the fight chain, I'll have to acupressure my way through this fight each time. I don't bother leveling up Doduo to outspeed the other EVs, but Wobbuffet can easily take down Espeon with a Mirror Coat, as long as it doesn't use Swift. I heal Wobbuffet so it can use Mirror Coat to finish off the Flareon, but it faints in one hit, leaving the rest of my team helpless to fight 3 more level 38 evolutions. I clearly have to change something. I might have to level up, but I might be able to get through this if I rethink my strategy and learn something I should have learned a long time ago. To fully understand the strategies I'm going to be using for the rest of these back-to-back fights, look at the moves on the remaining threats Flareon, Jolteon, and Vaporeon. Notice anything exploitable? If you want to guess what I'm going to do, you can pause the video, because when I was thinking about how to beat this fight and came up with a strategy, I couldn't help but smile. These are the moments I love in challenge runs. If you guess switch between a ghost type Pokemon and a Pokemon with Flash Fire to be unaffected by normal and fire type attacks, since that's all Flareon has, then you get 100 Alec points. If not, here's 50 Alec points, they aren't worth anything. If you didn't get it, that's fine, because you probably forgot I had a Ponyta, and that it could even get Flash Fire in the first place, and I wouldn't blame you for that either. If you guessed right the first time, and part of that guess was that once Flareon was out of Fire Blast, his only move that affects Ghastly was Will-O-Wisp, so I can curse him. Here's 2 barely Alec points, which unlike Alec points are actually worth also nothing. But what's this? More things in this fight still? Yup, if you guessed that I'd use one of the turns that I waited for curse damage to go up, I would also heal my Wobbuffet for later. You get the satisfaction of being right, which is worth far more than any points I can give you. I'll skip the whole points bit and just say that if you send in a ground type Pokemon, Jolteon will not know what to do. Its only move that affects Whopper is the normal type Last Resort. But since all his other moves are electric type and don't affect me, he uses Last Resort before even using his other electric moves, wasting all the PP of the only move that can hurt me. I don't use Wobbuffet because Jolteon can paralyze it with Thunder Wave, potentially causing me not to hit and forcing healing items. I also want Wobbuffet as healthy as possible. And with all those pesky damage dealing moves that hurt my poor Pokemon not affecting Whopper, I can PP stall Jolteon until it struggles. I intentionally put Wobbuffet at the end of my party so I could heal him if I needed to, which I didn't want to risk fainting, so I did with Ponyta. I used one of my many far more expendable citrus berries. From there, it's a simple Mirror Coat to finish off this series of what I feared would be run killer fights by forcing me to level up a lot of Pokemon other than Doduo. Now I'm looking for X items in the suburban area. Certain thresholds have new items, and whenever a new item has just become available, it has the best chance to appear. For example, since X Defense and X Special Defense are the most important items that I'm looking for, I saved my watts from 0 to 499 steps to have the highest chance to get X Defense, and used a similar strategy for X Special Defense. Before heading towards the Elite Four, I decided to get Pursuit back since Double Hit is just a better version of Quick Attack in this playthrough. Not many Pokemon I have access to can learn Waterfall, but fortunately Wooper comes through once more. Runaway even comes in handy when going through the last cave, even though I could have saved every step if I needed to, it's still cool, right? The final fight against Soul has him lead with a Sneasel that tries to counter my acupressure strategy in many ways. It knows Feint Attack, which always hits, ignoring evasion increases. This makes evasion useless if it's raised before my defenses, lowering the odds of a successful acupressure. I can use an X defend to guarantee a good start to the fight and decide if I want to use more of those or acupressure to raise stats while healing no matter what. I can raise my defense as much as I want, but unfortunately Sneasel also has Icy Wind, a special move that is also super effective against doduo. Yeah, this might take a while. What I did to start the fight was use an X defend followed by an X special defense, heal with my held Sitrus berry, and hope acupressure hit evasion or either defense stat. After getting evasion, special attack, special defense, and attack raised by acupressure, as well as one more X special defense, I tried attacking the Sneasel to see if this was enough to finish the rest of his team. But I still take too much damage from the Magneton and don't do enough to him to warrant the use of healing items. I used the same strategy of starting with an X defend followed by an X special defense, and luckily get an evasion raise right away, which allows the use of minimal healing items. This time I end on my defense being increased by 6 stages, special defense by 3, evasion by 6, speed by 3, special attack by 6, accuracy by 6, and attack by 5 thanks to an X attack. With stats this high, sweeping the entire team is easy, but in order to outspeed Lance's Gyarados, I'm going to need to level up one more time, and if everything goes right, this should be the final time I use the Pokewalker. The first member of the Elite Four is an annoying fight for sure. My doduo faints in one hit if I don't get a special defense raise. If I do raise my special defense with acupressure, then I can survive one psychic, and if Xatu gets minimum damage, I can use an X special defense to give me more turns for acupressure and healing. It's better to start with acupressure and hope for evasion or special defense than to use an X special defense because I get left at such a low amount of health that even fully healing my Pokemon will put me right back at that same threshold. And of course it knows Confuse Ray. If I get an evasion boost to start and the opponent misses, I can use an X special defense to survive a hit and potentially heal until Xatu misses again. Luckily, he misses right away, so I can use another X special defense before taking any damage, and even though he hits me on the next turn, my special defense is high enough to allow me another turn of raising it. I use healing items and Persim berries when necessary, but mostly use acupressure, and in the middle of raising my stats, Xatu hits a U-turn and switches into Jinx. Continuing the theme of getting hit through boosted evasion, Jinx uses Ice Punch, hits, and freezes me, and as I'm trying to unthaw, I get critted by Psychic. After many tries of raising my stats, I get my attack, special defense, and evasion high enough where I feel comfortable moving on. I don't always outspeed Pokemon, but I'd rather risk less critical hit chances. The risky part of this strategy is that Xatu has Aerial Ace, which ignores evasion changes, and Xatu is faster than me, but I can heal, then finish him off. In between battles, I heal HP with citrus berries only, since they are far less effective in battle than, say, a hyper potion. Koga is a lot easier than Will because they'll often use Spiderweb, which makes it so doduo can't switch, which I don't do anyway, so congratulations wasting a turn. The small trade-off is that sometimes Poison Jab poisons me. It still took a long time trying and retrying the fight, but it was a lot less frustrating and time-consuming. I'm all set up and ready to sweep. Hopefully I don't get crit again. This time, in the middle of setting up, Ariados uses Baton Pass to switch into Fortress, which is basically handing me the victory, as the Fortress likes using useless moves like Protect, Toxic Spikes, and sometimes Swift, which does so little damage that I don't care if it never misses. When healing after the fight, I used 2 ethers to restore 20 PP of acupressure, since in these fights I used around 18 times on average. Continuing the trend of these fights getting easier, Hitmontop will often use counter, giving me more time to set up. Counter will one-shot me if it breaks through my evasion with my attack boosted a lot, so I damage Hitmontop with a few not very effective attacks before finishing him off with the boosted super effective peck. Onyx is still an issue. He takes very little damage, leaving lots of room for a critical hit. I intentionally heal up before defeating him because the next Pokemon is a lot scarier. Machamp has no guard, so he ignores my evasion, and he has the high critical hit ratio move Cross Chop. Luckily, he wastes a turn using Foresight, even though he has no guard, and after I finish him off, the fight's basically over. This time, when I heal, I use 3 ethers on acupressure and 1 on all of my other moves. Still continuing this weird theme of the Elite Four getting easier to beat with the doduo as I go on, this Umbreon often uses Double Team, which I don't care about since I raise my accuracy eventually anyway. It's not all good news though. The Umbreon also knows Feint Attack and Confuse Ray, but doesn't use them most of the time. Still, I'm able to get through this fight with minimal healing items very easily. After healing with citrus berries, I used 3 ethers on acupressure, 2 on peck, and 1 on my other moves. The trend of fights getting easier is completely ruined thanks to Lance. His Gyarados has a mix of physical and special moves to hurt my strategy of raising one of my defenses. It doesn't help that it lowers my attack with Intimidate to force another turn of acupressure. When I first started battling Lance, I realized I was still conserving my items, which led to failures where I would have had a decent chance to win, like by not healing here until he missed. During attempts where I almost fully set up, Gyarados still had some tricks, like when he froze me here. If you like that last one, then you'll love him freezing me and following it up with a crit. I know I did. How about another crit? That was funny. But like I said before, as long as I have my evasion up at least once from acupressure and can survive a hit, then I can keep healing until he misses and raise my defenses with X items even while frozen. Aerodactyl's a bit scary because he also has Aerial Ace, but what are the odds that he crits me? Huh. What do you know? You might have noticed that I don't really two-shot things even at +6 attack. Couple this with Dragonite's impressive ability to break through 6 stages of evasion with Thunder of all moves, and also paralyze doduo with Thunder Wave for a tough Pokemon to beat. Now I'm on the last Pokemon, the final thing standing in the way of my victory. What's there left to do except restore the PP of double hit since I'm all out? Yeah, flinching's good. I can flinch. I hope you enjoyed the video. There were a few things I already know I could do better, like not level up Persim as much as I did and not accidentally go a few steps over the amount I need to level up. And one thing that was out of my control but would have lowered my steps would have been getting a doduo with the speed increasing nature so I could have outsped things at a lower level. If you have any ideas for other ways I could have lowered my steps, let me know in the comments. And while you're down there, why don't you like and subscribe so I can make more challenge run videos. They take a lot of time to make, so I really appreciate all of the support, comments, and people who have shared my videos.